So we're actually not going to look. So you're going to kind of see the game in the background while I'm talking about them. So, all right. So obviously, the original Legend of Zelda. I started this. I started this back in August. August is when I started my Zelda uh, quest, and it took me about 15 hours to complete. I did do it on the Switch, the Switch's emulator. Um, for an NES game, this was really a good game, and it set the groundwork for all of the Legend of Zelda games to follow. Right? It was a very simple concept. You just wandered in above ground, you entered dungeons. The dungeons were just you could have graph papered them as a kid, and I'm sure a lot of kids did. You looked for the compass, you looked for the map, you had a boss fight, you got a piece of the Triforce. Very simple, but I guess the adventure aspects of it in the 80s really kind of sparked people's imagination, right? So I would say, like, of all the NES games, this one was put together so well, and probably that's why it has endured for so long, right? All right, so Legend of Zelda. Let's talk. Let's talk about this one, because what would be after Legend of Zelda but Legend of Zelda, or I'm sorry, Zelda 2: The Adventures of Link. It wasn't even called Legend of Zelda. Um, as you can see, I'm dying there. The whole game over part. Um, I couldn't stand it anymore. I actually quit and did not finish Zelda 2. Um, I only played it about 5 hours before I gave up. And part of the reason is you would die and then you would go all the way back to where Zelda was. And then you have to fight your way all the way back to where you were. And I just got tired of dying over and over again. And then when I would pass it, I would barely have enough life to get a little bit further. And then I'd go all the way back to the beginning. Yeah. Yeah, so it was something. Oh, also while you're watching these, you should look at me and how much my room has evolved. So you can see, so this is back in September. I didn't have my new camera. The lighting looks terrible. So you'll see the evolution of me as well in this. And also my beard, because we haven't had haircuts since September. Um all right, enough about that one. I didn't like it. All right, so the next one was Link to the Past, Super NES. Started in September. Took me about 21 hours to complete. No, thanks for the follow, Luke. Um, what I liked about it is it went back to the original formula, right? It didn't. It's like the people who made Zelda didn't even want to remember Zelda 2. Oh, look, I got better lighting. Um, uh, I kind of like, I guess it introduced the idea of parallel universe. Yeah, I would say that too. Unexpected Enemy. I would say this is one of my favorite of the older ones. This is kind of one of my favorites. However, yeah, I thought this one was really good. However, I do like the Game Boy games, the Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of anyway, we'll get to those in a second. Um, what I think this one establishes is the idea that you get these items. I mean, there were items in the first one, but this one established the hook shot and all these other kind of different items as you were going through the dungeons. And so it really added puzzles. Like, I don't feel like the first one had puzzles, but this one really had puzzles. And so I would definitely say, in fact, that's what I have written down, best of the old school Zelda games, right? Yeah, totally. Totally. All right. So, So the next one is Link's Awakening. Now, I didn't play the original Game Boy Link's Awakening. I played the 2019 version of it that was on the Switch. Um, this took me about 19 hours. It's a redo of the classic Game Boy game. Um, uh, I think, honestly, I feel like they should take Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons and do this to them. That would be awesome. Because this remake was really, really good. And it just seems like they have a nice engine there that they could go back and redo all those games. And those would be great games to redo on that. It would be awesome. Um, one of the things I liked about this game is they had that little phone booth, and so if you kind of got stuck, you could go to the phone booth, and it would kind of give you a hint of where to go next. And I kind of like that. One of the things I hate about these games is getting stuck and just wandering around for a long time trying to find where I should be going next. And that was, I don't know if that was in the original or if that was added to the 2019 version, but I kind of liked that. So, yeah. Yep, just kind of continued the traditions of the previous games with all the same assets from. Okay. See, yeah, so that kind of fuels it that they could totally go back and redo Oracle of Ages and Seasons, and not require the passwords to play between them. That would be awesome. All right. So, if you know what's next, or if you know the release order of these, you would know that Oracle of Time is next. So the next one I played was Oracle of Time. This one actually took me about 48 hours to complete. So this one was, yeah, this one was, well, it's a little dark just because, thanks, Matthew, for the follow. Yeah, it was, I mean, so this was played on an emulator on the Wii U, and the Wii U emulator was kind of dark. And so, but honestly, for a Nintendo 64 game, this is really good. Ocarina of Time. Yeah. What did I say? Did I not say Ocarina of Time? Oh, did I say Oracle of Time? Ocarina of Time. Uh, Ocarina of Time. It's because we were talking about the Oracle games. Ocarina of Time.
There was one thing I didn't like about this game, though.
Oh, okay.
Was
What was that?
watching the animation of him playing the ocarina.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time. That was, well, you should, when he goes into the to the square in the in Hyrule Castle, and the people are kind of doing all these funny animations. It really shows how primitive it was back then. But it, for Nintendo 64 it was actually really good. I thought. And while the graphics are primitive for the compared to the future games, they really did take advantage of the Nintendo 64. And I feel like this game really established the 3D games and how the 3D games were going to be played. Yeah, it was really good. It had a standard story, but it starts to introduce time elements. So this is really the first one that had to do with time. Obviously, it's in the title, but it wasn't until this game that you started seeing time in all the other games, right? Um, it established the Gorons and the Zora as well, which would carry all the way to Breath of the Wild, right? And I do remember being stuck in this game sometimes, just going, where the hell do I go next? And some of that I think is just because it was an older game and they didn't really have good ways of kind of leading people from point A to point B to point C. So I think that was just kind of because it was such an older game. All right. So, yes, the next one is, let me hit OK. Majora's Mask. Yeah, so Majora's Mask took me about 45 hours to play. And this was the first one I actually bought a Nintendo. I got a Nintendo 64 and a cartridge. It was a remake cartridge, but it was still the cartridge, and played it on the original hardware. and I thought that was much better experience playing it on the original hardware. I obviously played it around Christmas time because I'm wearing a Santa hat. um, I liked how they really took chances with this game. They really decided, hey, we're not going to make this a standard Zelda game. We're going to make it different and have a different story and different ways of playing it. Saying that, I did not like the 3-day time limit. I did not like that because I ended up replaying parts, and I don't like replaying parts. And I know you could save your rupees at the bank, and you can do certain things, and I got used to what I would keep from time to time. Um, but I did. You're right. It was a very deep game, and I really liked how they changed it up and took chances with it. So that was, for that, it really was unique. And I understand why people say this is their favorite one, because it really kind of, I could understand if you were playing this as a kid, of how this is like, wow, this is such a deep game, right? And so I could see that, because the story was so unique and a little dark too at the same time. Yeah, so it was really cool. Yeah, like the side stories about the cows being taken by aliens. Yeah, it was twisted. It was very twisted, but it was really cool. All right, so now we go to the Game Boy games. Um, Oracle of Seasons, and so this is where I also had uh, the room starting to look like what it looks like now. We're talking Oracle Seasons was December 4th, um, so I got a Game Boy player. I got the cartridges. So this was the first Game Boy games I played on original hardware. Um, and this one took me about 38 hours to complete, which is really good for a Game Boy game if you think about it. Actually, I think it was a Game Boy. Was it a Game Boy Color? I think it was a Game Boy Color game actually, but it was really challenging. So I was surprised for a Game Boy game how deep it was, compared to. I mean, it was just as deep as the Super NES games, like with Link Between Worlds, right? Or not Link Between. Link to the Past. It was pretty much just as deep as that one. In fact, maybe even deeper. Um, this one I did. There were times where I just didn't know where to go, and that's where I was talking about that phone that I would have liked. I would have loved to have that in this one, because I was just lost sometimes. And then I remember sitting there digging holes in order to get potions so that I could defeat this final boss. Um, Although it did feel really good when I finally beat this boss, because it was so difficult to get there and to beat it. But it felt really good. Yeah, if you remember this, this is crazy. All right, so then I played Oracle of Ages. And so I took the password from Oracle of Seasons and put it into Oracle of Ages, and it basically continued the game, which was really cool. I really thought that was a neat idea. This one took me about 38 hours as well. This one was more puzzles over fighting, which was so Oracle of Seasons was more fighting, Oracle of Ages was more puzzles, and I liked the puzzle aspects more. And it's just, I guess, what I like in Zelda games was solving the puzzles more than the actual fighting. I do remember because I was having trouble with the final boss, and so I did go back. You could go between the worlds and get items and take them to the other world, and so I did have to go back and get like a better sword, and I remember that helped me fight Twin Rova there at the end. And then what was cool about this is because you had played the other game, you've got an ending in this game, which was against Ganon. And so, yeah, you only got that if you played both of them, which was really cool. Yeah, I guess for these, I guess my expectations were low and I was surprised by them. So that was what was really cool. All right, so on to the GameCube. And if you know what's next on the GameCube, you would know it is Wind Waker. Now, I remember when Wind Waker came out, and I started this around end of December. Yeah, and swapping them back and forth. And this is where Murray came in. And obviously, that's when I started wearing a Link hat as well. So Wind Waker, I remember when it came out and it was so controversial. Like people were like, I can't believe there's a Toon Link. Like that was the biggest thing about it. But what they didn't do is look beyond that and see how much of a story it was, right? I agree, Salty. I think this Wind Waker was my favorite. I had more, oh my God, moments like with the story. So the story really kind of drew me in. And so, hey, Crispy, we're doing a little retrospective. So that's what really drew me in on this one was the story. And then the ending was so good. The ending was just so good on this one. I thought it was kind of bold to set it kind of in the distant future where Hyrule was covered with water. I thought that was all really unique and cool. Like it almost established that for Ganon, Zelda, and Link are going to be fighting forever, right?
There was something you didn't like about this.
Yes, I did not like it. It took me 51 hours to play this game, and the reason is the very ending. You traveled around looking for these pieces of the Triforce, and then you had to go to Tingle and have him read a map, and it was too much. And I heard in the HD version they actually fixed that, but I played it on the GameCube, and so I didn't really have that. So yeah, I did not play the remaster. I played the original. Yeah. I like this. And then the ending, if you don't know the ending, I won't spoil it, but it has a really cool ending. Yeah. The grind at the end was too much. But I feel like it did not hurt it from being my favorite. So I say when people ask me which one was your favorite, I usually go back to Wind Waker. All right. So we're getting more recent now. So the next one would be Minish Cap. Minish Cap was actually one that I'd already played. I played it on my Game Boy Advance, which is somewhere around here. I think it's in the other room. Oh well. I played this. I had already played it. Minish Cap's good. It didn't take me very long to play. It only was 18 hours. So I was surprised at how short it was. It's funny, as I was playing it, I was remembering it as I was playing it. Oh yeah, these little people. There's little people in this one. Oh yeah, the hat talks. The hat talks. Oh yeah. Yeah, so I was it wasn't that I could remember the puzzles all that much, but I could remember kind of little story elements of it a lot. So maybe that contributed me finishing it faster. It's nice, it's simple, it's not too complex. It's definitely not as complex as the Oracle games. The Oracle games are much more hardcore than this game. So that's what I would say that Oracle games are actually better than this one. But it's not bad. All right, so next comes what a lot of people think is their favorite one, Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess. Yeah, it took me about 48 hours to complete. This game really surprised me. Again, they took chances with the story and went really dark, kind of like Majora's Mask. Went with a really dark theme. you know, it's so weird that they would say, okay, now let's have Link change into a wolf. So yeah, so so this isn't the one. This isn't the one that's coming soon. Twilight Princess has a remake on the Wii U. This was the Wii version, is what I played. Yeah, the original Wii version is the one I played. Yeah, Skyward Sword is the one that's the remake coming out soon. Of all of Link's companions over the years, I would liked Midna the best. So I thought she was the best one, had the most character, the most integrated into the story. I thought they could have done better with her, but I thought it was really good. Yeah, yeah, it's better than Navi. Hey, 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 much better than that. So overall, I enjoyed the game. I thought it was, hey, listen. Yeah, that one. All right. So, Phantom Hourglass. So now we're on to the DS. This one took me about 30 hours to complete. I was actually surprised how much I ended up liking it, because at first it was very gimmicky. Yeah. Well, we haven't gotten the Spirit Tracks yet, but actually I didn't mind this one. I actually thought this one was pretty good. It was clever. It was a clever story. It was a sequel to Wind Waker. I liked Lineback. I thought Lineback was funny. It was nice to revisit that world of Wind Waker, because I thought that was cool. And then also, well, the part I didn't like was it had like one dungeon that you kept doing over and over again, but you would go further and you had to kind of beat the pieces of that dungeon in order to progress. That aspect of it, I did not like. So that part I did not like. But, however, that did lead to one of the most dramatic endings that on this stream, and I'm going to play it for you right here. So part of that is you were timed, and when you run out of time, your health started going down. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to play this clip. Look at how many hearts I have left. I have 0 time left. I have to get a piece of the Triforce and bring it into this other area. Okay? You ready? So I'm going to play this next clip. And this was kind of the most tense moment I think I've ever had on the stream. All right, here we go. Because I feel like I'm going to have to get down on his level. Oh. Wow. Yeah. Woo. Yeah, at the buzzer. 1 heart left, no time left. Like, I was wandering around that dungeon with no time left. The hearts were dwindling, and I used the boomerang? Or no, it was the hook shot. I used the hook shot to get the that from the guy. So I go down and I use the hook shot to steal it from him, and then and then go back up and put it in there. It was tense. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if you were there for that, that was crazy. Hey, Popping Tarts, how's it going? It was crazy. It was amazing. So anyway, all right, so now let's go to the next one. You probably know what the next one is. It's Spirit Tracks. All right, so Spirit Tracks. All right, I'm here to say that I didn't I'm about to use a double negative. I didn't dislike Spirit Tracks. I didn't like the end of Spirit Tracks. Look, I have the Bowser head on. I didn't like the end of Spirit Tracks, okay? Um I didn't mind the other aspects of it. I thought it was weird that I'm running around on a train. That was weird. but but the ending was really bad. I mean, it was in and let me explain why it was so bad. There was too many progressions. Well, one, it relied on you controlling yourself and Zelda at the same time. And that was really hard. And then there were no breaks. And if you died, you went all the way back to the beginning. And there were like, I want to say 4 or 5 progressions of this boss fight that you had to do with no saves. So I ended up cheating and using save states in order to get past it. But it was so hard. And you know, granted, I wasn't playing it on original hardware. In order to stream it, I was emulating it, and I had this little drawing tablet that I was using to emulate the DS. But still, it was just so overly complicated. It didn't have to be overly complicated. I feel like the ending kind of ruined the rest of the game. That was the problem, right? It's funny, we're not even getting it's all exposition right here. We're not even getting to the part. Let's see, what else can I say while we wait for that to catch up? Yeah. Yeah, like I was saying, I really enjoyed the first part of the game. It was just the last part that ruined the rest of it. That was the problem. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Oh, you don't want to see it. You're like, yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's do that. All right. See you a little bit later, Kata. Too soon. All right. So then, speaking of soon, I only played this back in February, so only 2 months ago I played Skyward Sword. It was funny, while I was playing Skyward Sword, they announced that they were going to do an HD remake of Skyward Sword, and of course I was in the middle of it. I ended up liking this game. If you were to say after the first boss fight, would I like this game? I did not, because when the motion controls worked, they were wonderful. When the motion controls didn't work, you wanted to throw the Wii remote into the other room. That's basically it. When it worked, it was wonderful. When it didn't work, it just made you hate life. And so that was really the gist of it. The crux of it. I liked the story. I thought it was really interesting. I thought a lot of people didn't like Fee. I thought Fee was fine. I thought it was better than Navi. I liked that this almost set the ground roots of the sword and everything like that. The final confrontation was really challenging. Yeah. Yes. That's when I introduced Skycam, and you could actually see me fighting with it all the time. After a while, I got used to it, and maybe part of it was I had played Twilight Princess, and all I had to do was like shake the controllers, and that's all it would have to do, right? and then this one, you actually was you had to do it precisely, and just the precision of it just wouldn't work sometimes, and that's why it was so difficult. Let's see. But overall, I liked it. Took me 56 hours to complete. So one of the longest games for me to play. Yeah, so this was the final boss fight. We're seeing all the final boss fights. Oh, look, the layout looks like what it looks like now. This was only 2 months ago. So, let's see. What else did I have to say about this? Yeah, I really enjoyed the story. And I just liked the whole backstory. It was really cool, the backstory of Hyrule. I thought that was cool. All right. Next was Link Between Worlds. This one only took me 20 hours to complete, so kind of close to Minish Cap, and I kind of compare it to Minish Cap. Thought the game was cute. I liked that it was a sequel. Oh, thanks for Ace. Thanks for gifting a sub to Miri. I liked it. I didn't dislike it. I thought it was cool that it was a sequel to Link to the Past. I guess I was expecting more, and that's maybe what it was. So I liked it. Oh, you know what I thought? I thought they should have tied it to Twilight Princess. Why couldn't the Dark Realm could have been Twilight Princess? That would have been much more interesting, I thought. So if that would have happened, I think I would have liked it more. And maybe that's because I'm into the lore and into the backstory and everything like that. I'm like, what? There's yet another side world. Oh, really? Play it on hard. I liked the that they added a new aspect to solving puzzles, which was merging yourself with the wall. But after a while, you kind of learned all that. You learned what to do, and so it wasn't all that hard to figure out the puzzles after a while because you kind of figure, oh, I need to merge with the wall here, right? All right. So, Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild took me about 53 hours. However, Breath of the Wild is an amazing game. This was the first time you really felt like the game was a world and that you were exploring that world. The size and the immensity and the replay value. I played it for 53 hours. I probably could have played it for 530 hours. You could have just played it forever. I remember the first time I played it. So this was the second time I played it. I remember the first time I played it just being so impressed with the engine of just sitting up on a cliff and being able to see so far into the distance was just amazing that you could do that. They did such a good job with the level of detail and the distance you could see. It really felt like this was a real world and that you were exploring it, and just all aspects of it were done really well. I don't know how the hell you would test that game. It must have taken them forever to QA this game because you could literally, what would happen if you got stuck somewhere in the mountains? So I was same here, Mr. KR. I was just so in awe of just the whole game and just all the DLC that they've added to it and made it just even more than it is today. I'm so amazed. The story, it really had a cool story. It really added to the lore. You know, if you didn't think they could add more to the Legend of Zelda, they did. The 4 champions and bringing all those races together, I thought was really cool. Of course, the downside was the breaking of the weapons. That was just a weird mechanic. Why would you add that mechanic? I have no idea. What was amazing is how much it diverged from the Zelda mechanic, meaning there were no dungeons, there were no maps, there were no compasses. The thing that had been in every Zelda game from the beginning was not in this game. And I didn't really understand that till I went back and played all of them, because Breath of the Wild was really kind of the first one I played Minish Cap first, then I played Breath of the Wild. But yeah, I think the way they did it made it even more expansive, right? Because if you had dungeons, then you only have dungeons. But if you have all of these shrines, it makes it even more open world, right? So I thought they got away with it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just amazing that they got away with it, I guess. That the Zelda I don't know, the hardcore Zelda fans didn't just like carry torches and pitchforks down to Nintendo saying, why aren't there any dungeons and compass and maps in this game? So that's pretty much it. However, I do want to give an honorable mention. It's not a Zelda game, but it is a really good game, and that's Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Um, I was really surprised how much I enjoyed this game. Um, the mechanics are different. So if you're expecting a Zelda game, it's not a Zelda game. The fighting is a lot different. It is a different game. So if you don't like action games, it might not be the one for you, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. The mechanics were so much improved from Hyrule Warriors, which I also played in this. Um, the integration with Breath of the Wild story-wise adds so much to Breath of the Wild. You really do have to watch it. Well, even so much they use that as part of the story. You think you know where this game is going, and it does not. It goes in a complete different direction, and that's what's good about it, right? You think you know because you've played Breath of the Wild where that story is going, and it doesn't. So I don't want to spoil it too much. Although you see, I'm fighting Calamity Ganon there. If you don't know, it takes place 100 years before Breath of the Wild during the Calamity, which where the heroes are alive, right? They're not dead. So uh, so that's kind of the aspect of it. So I would say if you loved Breath of the Wild, you should play Age of Calamity. And it's not that old; it just came out last year, and it's really good. It really is good. All right, so that's it. That's my whole thoughts on Legend of Zelda. Um, I'm amazed that I hadn't played any Legend of Zelda games until I'd played Minish Cap and Breath of the Wild, and I'm surprised those were the only two I'd ever played because it's so much part of uh gamer legends, that whole aspect of it. It's all part of that, and I'm surprised that it's I hadn't played any of them until then, besides those two. Um, I understand why it's a beloved franchise, um, and how much people really enjoy it, and Nintendo has done such a good job over the years of preserving it and really kind of being careful with it, although taking chances. Like I do feel like Twilight Princess, Majora's Mask, they really took chances with them. So I wouldn't say they didn't take chances, because they've definitely took some chances. uh no, Spirit Tracks is not the best one. The next game is Breath of the Wild 2, so we'll see. And I understand why they take chances, there. So all right, top three Zelda games: Wind Waker, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild. So those are my top three. Um, if I were to order those, I'd probably say Wind Waker, Breath of the Wild, Skyward Sword. But it's tough. Those are now, I would say kind of a little bit of a flip. I think Breath of the Wild beats Skyward Sword. Yeah, it's just because it's a little bit better. Yeah. But those would be my top three. All right, so what are the bottom three? Zelda 2, obviously, Spirit Tracks, and probably Phantom Hourglass. Well, I thought Phantom Hourglass was okay. Um, I would still probably rank it below the Oracles and the other games. Phantom Hourglass. So the two DS games were, I think someone said that earlier in the chat. I do think the two DS games were kind of the worst ones there. Um, so I guess they did guard Zelda, but they didn't guard it well enough because they put it on the DS. I mean, I guess every Nintendo console generation since every Nintendo console generation has had a Zelda. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's That's my Zelda retrospective. Did y'all like that? Did y'all like that retrospective? Yeah. I can't believe so that's a good question. How many hours did I spend on Zelda? We're gonna real time calculate this. Hold on. How many finishing and unfinishing? How many hours did I play Zelda games? And we won't count the Hyrule Warriors. 200 hours? Okay. All right, let's see. Link's Awakening. All of these. Skyward Sword, Link Between Worlds, and Breath of the Wild. You ready? 552 hours. 552 hours. So, yeah. of Zelda playing. Well, and that's about half of my stream this year has been that. So so the number of hours I streamed was 1,207 hours this year. And so that means just under half of it was playing Zelda games. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy to think that. Yeah. Yeah, so of those people who are on my Discord, you'll know I'll occasionally put my spreadsheet up, and that just I've been recording how many hours I've been streaming and how long I've been streaming those games. So those hours, it may be a little bit off because there's some arcade modes in there and stuff like that, and there's some talking, and so it's not quite accurate, but it's close enough. It's close. It's close enough within an hour or so. So, all right.